One of the joys, maybe it's a joy, sometimes pain, of real life is, and if you have had a chance to have children, is that eventually they're going to come and bring you their homework. And you get to go back to school a little bit because they're asking you, hey, I don't totally understand this. And so, Mom and Dad, what do you think? And then you look at their homework and you're like, yeah, what that means is, well, let's look at the book. And then we just try, and then now you're trying to figure it out along with them. And especially when it comes to things like math, because it's been a good 30 years since I've been in that place. And you're having to remember like math. And one of the things that they teach you if you're like helping out with geometry, how many of you remember if-then equations? If-then, huh? Yeah? So good. So good. Anybody use if-then equations in Excel or your spreadsheets, huh? No? One excited about that? I love spreadsheets. Anybody else spreadsheet fan? Okay. All right. It's good. Feel alone right now. But you have these if-then equations, and it goes something simple. It goes like this. If A equals this, then B has to be this. Or if this angle is this, then this angle must be that. And you learn these principles. And the truth is, you get it in math, kind of, but the reality is our whole lives have tons, thousands of these if-then realities. Every day we experience these if-then realities. And we talk about them all the time, because even when you're talking with your kiddos, you say things like, if you will study, then you will likely do much better on your test. We have that all the time. If you will practice playing piano, then you will not feel freaked out for your piano recital, right? Or whatever it is. Or if you will take a shower, then you will not stink. I mean, whatever it is, we have these regular experiences every day, or if you do this, and it's very logical in many ways, very great, easy to do. Religious communities experience this all the time. And it goes a little something like this. If you will do good, then you will be blessed. Or if you will obey, then things will go well for you. Or if you don't do the bad things, then you won't experience the bad things. You often have these if-then experiences and expressions. And what it does is many times it makes religion very transactional. Religion just kind of becomes a transaction. Here's the list of the do's, and here's the list of the don'ts. And if you'll kind of follow along in these things, then maybe life will work out okay for you. Jesus did something different. He did something incredibly different than that. Jesus came, and what he did is, he wanted to bring humanity back to the way that we were made, to be these image bearers who walk closely again with their God. We discover that he would end up being the key in a way that the world had never seen before. He did something that the world had never fully understood or ever seen. Jesus, what he did is he removed this transactional nature of religion and he turned it back into what this was always meant to be, which is this real relationship with this Father. And what was amazing is that Jesus was the one who expressed this the best. He had this relationship with the Father, which we know and understand that he had from eternity past. He was God incarnate from eternity past, and yet when he came to this earth, the way he lived his very life as a man was to say, hear this. I'm asking you and I'm calling you to be done with this transactional nature of religion, and I'm asking you to come back to a good Father. And Jesus lived his own life by that. because constantly the religious elites were seeking to try to get Jesus to do the do's and to not do the don'ts. And he looked at them with the fullness of his heart, said, you don't even understand what you're saying, because this whole thing is set up for you to experience the nature and the heart of the Father. You might even be like, well, Keith, isn't this what God does, right? He gives us the do's and the don'ts. I mean, what are you talking about? God's the one who gave us the laws to begin with, was he not? Wasn't he the one who gave us these laws? He created the do's and the don'ts. Isn't that how that works? Wrong. It's not how that works. If you go back, and for you guys that got to be a part of our series in Genesis, where we went back to the very beginning, really interesting. God creates man and woman in his own image, and then he says this, here's the whole thing. I want you to live with me and walk with me. And there's one tree I'm asking you to stay away from. That's that tree that says you can do life on your own. But if you'll do the rest of this world, if you'll just walk with me, you'll have everything. That was it. Before the sin comes into the equation to mar and to destroy and to tear away from this relationship that we have with God, God's got one thing. He says, I want you just to be with me, walk with me. You just choose not to go down your own road, and you will experience the fullness of life. Adam and Eve said, I don't think so, man. I think we'll be way better if we get to be the boss. And they chose their own way, and mankind has been from that moment choosing our own way. And so the question was then, how do we rightly relate if all of mankind has this tendency to go, God, I think your way is dumb. I think I have a better idea of how to make fullness for my life, so I'll go my own way. The question is, how do we rightly relate again with this God? How can we be near with him again? And what we find is God establishes this thing called the law, and the law exists to show us exactly how beautiful and perfect and worthy he is. And the law exists to try to show us what it might look like to try to connect and to be with God if we did life on our own terms. That's why the law exists. That's the point of the law, to show the absolute perfection of God and our complete and utter inability to do it on our own. The reality is that the law was the grace of God to show us and to bring us back to how we're actually made. And that is this, to remind us of how badly, how deeply, how fully we are in need of a real relationship with a trustworthy Father. It's what we need. It is who we are. It's how we're made. And this life works richly when we live in that and from that place, and every other place ends up being broken. Jesus came and turned the world upside down, not by telling humanity, you need to do better at all the laws. He didn't show up and go, you're not doing very good. Get it right. Let me show you how to do it perfectly because your way is broken and bad. No, he actually came and said, I want to invite you back to how you were originally made, to come and be connected to this Father. And when you experience that, you find life. He came to call them back to the Father, to intimacy with the Maker, peace with the Creator, nearness with this God. And he did it in such a radical way, it turned the world upside down in what is known as the greatest sermon, the greatest message that has ever been preached in the history of humanity. This goes across philosophies and even religions. It's often known, we know if you got to grow up in the church, you know it as the Sermon on the Mount. You're there in Matthew chapter 5. It's actually where it starts. And Jesus is going to dive right in. He's going to change the world with this message. And he's going to say some things that the world had never actually heard ever before. And what he's going to say, he's not going to start with some cutesy intro. He's going to dive right in. He's going to give us the truth from the beginning. And what he's going to say, in the fullness of it, is it's not what you do, it's actually who you are right in here. And what he's going to say is you will get what you need in this life if you will return and come back to the fact that you were made to need God. You were made to need him. Hunger for him. That's what he's going to say. First words out of his mouth. Matthew chapter 5, verse 3. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed, glory, happy, delighted, full are the poor in spirit. He gives this brand new if-then equation. It's different than what the world had heard before. If you're poor in spirit, then you will have and experience this rich kingdom. Now, can I ask you something? When you read that, does that sit right with you? I'm being honest. Let's get past bless God, brother, good word, pastor. I'm none of that. I'm talking about really. First sermon's going to change the world. First words out of his mouth. Blessed are the poor in spirit. I got to be honest with you. That doesn't feel super exciting. I mean, I'm just going Jesus, if you were going to preach, I have some pointers for you about being a little more dynamic. Does anybody get excited about this? Who wants to be poor in anything? The world we live in, there's not one thing. You don't want to be poor in resources. You don't want to be poor in talent. You don't want to be poor in time. You don't want to be poor in anything. I don't either. I don't know anybody that wants to be poor in anything. No one's looking for that. First words out of his mouth. Blessed, full, glad, happy are the poor in spirit. Why? Why? Because the one who is poor knows what? He has need. He needs God. What Jesus was saying is, if you want fullness, which is what we all want, not a person in here that doesn't want fullness of life, then you got to wake up to how you were made. You were made to need me. Need. Long desire. Blessed is the poor in spirit, because you've finally woken up that nothing else is going to solve it for you. You need me. You need me. We work so hard in this life to not be poor in anything. How on earth could there be a blessing from it? It's because waking up in the morning saying, I need you, God, is the pathway to the fullness that we find in God's kingdom. That's the pathway. Awakening again to the fact that we were made from the get-go to need him. Need him. That's the answer. That's the heart posture of this relationship that we have with God and ultimately even with each other, is just by owning up to the fact that It doesn't matter how many dollars I have. It doesn't matter how many friends or followers I have. It doesn't matter how many of the good circumstances that I can get lined up in my life. You and I are made to need God. It's the pathway for the fullness of life. And hear this, you can be rich in this life. When I say rich, I mean dollars. You can have wealth, but hear this, but still be poor in spirit. How? Because you and I finally get to worship God by just bringing him our thirst. I need you. It's not actually a result of how the cool things you have or don't have. It's actually a heart posture. Can you come back to how you were actually made? Can you come home to how you were made? And need me above anything, above all things. Jesus says it like passionately in John chapter 7. This is on the last day of the feast, that great day. Jesus stood up and he cried out, which is meaning this is a little more than a small teaching. He raises his voice and he says this. This is crazy. If anyone thirsts, he's talking about need. If anyone thirsts, let him come to me and drink. Church, we're not talking about religion anymore. Do you hear me? We're not talking about do's and don'ts. We're talking about coming to the living water, to drink, to gulp, right? You ever been thirsty before? Outside working in the heat? Of course you have. This last month and a half has been abysmal here. It's been awful. And you just need a drink. That's what Jesus is talking about. I want you to come back to how you were made and thirst and come to me and drink. Whoever believes in me, as the scripture has said, out of his heart will flow rivers of living water. You come to me and drink, and what is in you flows to everyone else. How do you honor a river? You come to the river and you drink. And you say, I need. You take it in. You gulp it in. Hear this, church. Our need is worship. Our need is worship. You can sing all the songs you want. Hear this. Your need is worship. Coming to him. I need you, God, for life. I need you for rest. I need you for hope. I need you for peace. I need you for wisdom. I need you for direction. I need you for help. I need you for marriage. I need you for parenting. I need you for friendship. I need you for business. I need you, God. I need you. And coming that way is the pathway. That's how we're made. That's worship. That is worship. You come in here. We sing songs, and I love singing songs, but the point of the song is to stir the heart back to how we were meant to be, to need, to go, man, there's nothing better. Jesus gave the greatest message in the history of the world simply to say, wake up. Wake up to how you were made. Don't do what Adam and Eve did, to go your own way. Come back to how you were made. You might even be going, well, Pastor, I've gone to God a lot of times for things I need. I've come to him. Many times you might even be disappointed. I'm hurt. I've come to God for places that I've had need in my life. And I've told him I need him, and it hasn't always worked out. Why isn't it? When I've brought my needs to him, it doesn't seem to be answered the right way. Well, number one, this is what good fathers do from time to time in my household. A like at a 92% rate, my children would choose ice cream for dinner every time. It's like all the time. They would just go. They love, and I'm going to be honest with you, a couple of times we've just said, fine, that's what we're having for dinner. I'm just being real with you. Just total transparency. We've done it. Like the widow who will not stop asking the Lord for justice. We just like, fine, you can have ice cream. So we're going to do it. But you would have significant judgment of me if I told you, we just said every night, sure, you can have ice cream, kids. You would think, that's not a good father. You would think, we might need to call the authorities. That's what you would think. That's what you would have. Why? Because a good father says, I know that you're coming to me in need. You're asking for, but I have something richer and better for you. So trust me on the journey, even when I have to say no to some things from some time to time. All right? Now, but hear this. No. He's a good father. He doesn't always give us everything we ask for, but hear this. The bigger thing and the most important thing that Jesus, I think, is trying to communicate here is not, can you bring all your needs to me alone, but also hear this. Let me be your greatest need. That's what he's saying. I'm your need. I'm the treasure. Not the peace, not the help, not the wisdom. Those are all incredible blessings that come, but I'm the treasure. And if you'll trust me, you'll find life. And by the way, the message continues the whole way through. Look at the very next verse. Look at verse 4. Blessed are those who mourn. This sermon's getting better and better. For they shall be comforted. That's not performance, is it? What is he saying here? This message is getting weird. Blessed are those who mourn. I would understand if God was like, blessed are those who work really hard because God helps those who help themselves. I mean, again, all the platitudes that exist out there. That's not what he's saying. That's not what he's talking about. Why does he say, blessed are those who mourn? What do mourning people need? They need comfort. They need. People who are in mourning need. He's saying, wake up and need. I have it for you. I have comfort for you. The next one. Blessed are the meek. What's he saying? Don't come to me with your hubris and arrogance. Blessed are the meek. Humble in heart. The ones who is humble in heart? The one who knows he has need. You can go down the line. I love this one. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst. What is Jesus doing? He's calling us back to how we were made to need him. Hunger and thirst for righteousness. He's righteousness for what? They will be what? Filled. They'll be filled. He takes the if-then thing and he turns it upside down. He's not saying if you do this, then you get this. What he's saying is if you will come back to me, needy, I'll fill you. All that you need is in my heart. Why would he do it this way? Because here, the more we need him, the more connected we stay to him, the more connected to the source that we are. And this isn't, by the way, just the New Testament. It's all throughout the scripture. You see it over and over again. And in Isaiah chapter 55, Israel has been exiled out of their homeland. They're living in a foreign land under occupation. They have lost their homes and lost their lives. And they're in maybe the hardest moment that you could possibly imagine trying to live through. And God comes to them through his prophet, his leader, and he has something really powerful to say. It's unbelievable, these words from this God. Look at what he says, Isaiah 55, verse 1. Come, everyone who thirsts. Come to the waters, and he who has no money, come buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk without money and without price. Now stop right there. Come and buy, you who have no money. That doesn't work. Not in the world. You ever tried to go someplace and try to buy something without money? That's called thievery, all right? It's not a good idea. Doesn't work in the world. That's not what God says. Come and buy, you who have no money. How do you buy with no money? With God, your neediness is the currency for the grace of God. That's how that works. Come, everyone who thirsts, come and buy. You who have nothing, come and buy. That's what he's saying. Your neediness, come. Bring me your thirst and hunger, and I will give you. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the what you don't have. I'm looking for you to come with the hope and the hunger and the thirst, because you will be filled. And that's where we get to this, maybe the most important question God can ask us. Because if you're here and you don't really feel needy for God, because you're going, well, I've got something, I'm doing okay. And you're wrestling with the idea of this coming to God with need, because nobody likes to feel needy. It often is associated with weakness, especially in the culture we live in. But the truth is you and I have need regardless. We can pretend like we don't. But he says, I want you to show up to this. Isaiah 55, verse 2. Look at what he says. Why do you spend your money for that which is not bread? And why are you laboring for the thing that does not satisfy? If you do not feel need for God, I think what he's trying to say is the simple answer. If you wrestle to feel need for God, is you're often gorging yourself on crap that will not satisfy. And he's saying, don't do it again. Don't do it anymore. Don't have to live that way. I was trying to think about my health. I'm 47, getting a little older. So I was like, all right, probably should go to the doctor. I hadn't had a physical in a long time, many years. Maybe it was since I was like 18. I'm just going to be honest with you. So I was like, it's time to it's like, that's not smart or healthy. So I'm understanding. So I was like, and I think mostly people don't go like to it. If you're a doctor in here, I love you. People don't often like to go to doctors. Okay. I was like, all right, going to go to the doctor. And the doctor does the thing, you get the physical, and then they measure all the things, and then after that, you get the lab results come back, and then you get to have a fun sit down where the doctor says something like this. I'm not saying my conversation went exactly like this, but kind of. If you continue to eat these kinds of things, it will not go well for you. But if you will consume these kinds of things, that will lead towards life. And so, what's that? Ice cream. Yeah, ice cream. Yeah. The doctor and I had a good conversation about ice cream, okay? And it's just a small and slim picture of this God who's saying, there are probably things out there that give you the immediate rush, and it feels great. It just won't sustain you, and it won't bring life to you, and it won't hold you for the long haul. But if you will come to me with your emptiness, with the nothingness, your neediness, I'll give you everything. You can trust me in this. There are things out there that will not nourish you and satisfy you. I will. Will you trust me? And here's what he says in verse 55. Go back to verse 2, chapter 55, 2. Listen diligently to me. He says, listen to me and eat what is good. And delight yourselves in rich food. Who's the rich food? He's the rich food. He's saying worship. Worship. Treasure, drink, take it in. God is rich food. It says, believe that I'm better and see. Incline your ear, verse 3, and come to me. That's what he's saying. Incline your ear, open it up, and come to me. Hear that your soul may live, and I will make an everlasting covenant, my steadfast, sure love for David. Wake up to how you were made in the image of God, the Imago Dei. You were made to need him above all. And the quicker we put our hope in him alone, the faster you and I get to step into the fullness we were actually made for. It's the craziest thing. Bring the need to him. Bring your heart to him. Bring your fullness to him. And see what he will say and do in leading us into fullness of life. You guys stand. Our team's going to come up. We're just going to finish with worship. We just have 7 or 8 minutes left. And we're going to go celebrate some baptisms. I'm so pumped. We're just going to take this moment. It's just these last few minutes to just express our need to God, okay? Father, we just want to come to you in this moment. And we don't want to leave here without just an opportunity to offer to you our need. God, just to say it in very real ways. For it to go past religious jargon. Yeah, okay, I need God. We know we need God. No. God, we need you. God, we need you. Hunger and thirst for you. And we thank you, God, for the blessings of provision and resource and friendship and spouses and children and all the great things that you give to us. We bless you for all the rich things that you have given to us. But we come to tell you we need you above all. Would you tell him that in your heart? Make that declaration again, maybe even by faith. Just say, God, I need you. I really need you. More than life itself. We need you. We finished this morning with an opportunity just to express our heart of worship and hunger for you. To tell you you're our only thing. So God, we say, you're our only thing. Tell him, you're my only, my one and only. And from your provision, from your heart, and from being connected to you, we do life, and we love, and we live, and we encourage, and we bless, and we laugh, and we cry. We work and we rest. But God, we don't want to do any of it without you. And if you feel like you're here, I don't need you. I don't feel the need for you. Just tell him. It's okay. He's not offended. Tell him. God, I don't think I need you right now. And I want my heart to be right. Help me come to you, the living water. All who thirst. We love you, God, and we thank you for a moment to just worship you, to truly tell you you're all we need. We love you.